Okay, so shall we start? So please let me introduce myself. I'm Patricia Burgos. I'm the Communications Head Manager of i4KIDS, and I'm so happy to welcome to all to this training capsule. We were going to it's going to be focused on 3 European funded projects that are already working on rare diseases. So I'm really happy to welcome you, and just some little indications just before we start. This is training capsule is going to last like more or less like 60 minutes, like an hour, and this session, as you have already seen, is going to be recorded, so and will be available in our YouTube channel. So we would just let you know as soon as we can just publish it in our channel. We will kindly ask you to mute your microphones during the session, please. But anyway, we encourage you as well to activate your cameras to accompany our speakers as well. And please use the chat for any requested question that you may already have. So as I have already said, I'm so excited to introduce the 3 speakers that are already today with us. So let me start with Sandra Brasil. So Dr. Sandra Brasil holds a PhD in pharmacy with a focus on molecular and cellular biology from the University of Lisbon, and where she also completed her undergraduate degree in biochemistry. From 2013 to 2017, she was a postdoctoral researcher in Belén Pérez Lab in Madrid, working on congenital disorders of glycosylation. And between 2018 and 2021, she served as a researcher and patients advocate with the Portuguese Association for CDG and the international network as well. Since 2021, she has worked with the European Paediatric Translational Research Infrastructure as a scientific and communication manager, and is a member of its Central Management Office advancing research and awareness in pediatric and rare diseases. So Sandra, thank you very much for joining us and being here. And so we also have Anneliene Jonker. She's an assistant professor at the University of Twente in the Netherlands, working at the intersection of therapeutic innovation, regulatory science, and policy in the field of rare diseases. Since 2023, she has been part of the Health Technology and Services Research Group and coordinates the European co-funded DeCODe project, where she's going to tell us about this just later on this training capsule, and focus on orphan device development. She earned her PhD in genetics from the University of Paris and Institut Curie in France in 2014. Dr. Jonker serves as vice chair of the Therapies Scientific Committee of the International Rare Diseases Research Consortium, leading global efforts on topics such as orphan devices and youth engagement. She's also an assistant editor of the ORPHADEV Journal of Rare Diseases, and since November 2023, director of the Duchenne Parent Project in the Netherlands. And again, thank you too for joining us as well. And finally, I would like to introduce Sofía Ferreira. So she is an industrial engineer with nearly 20 years of experience in healthcare innovation. She began her career at Sener, designing medical devices for microbiology and regenerative medicine before moving to Qatar and to establish the 3D printing lab at Sidra Medicine, a leading mother and children's hospital. Returning to Barcelona during the COVID-19 pandemic, she joined the DeCODe Barcelona program and co-founded HICAP, a startup focused on respiratory muscle atrophy in ventilated patients. Since 2021, she has led the internal innovation department at Barcelona Sant Joan de Déu Barcelona Children's Hospital and is part of the i4KIDS team, where she coordinates the i4KIDS 4RARE project, who she's going to explain about it later as well. So as you can see, we have really amazing topic to talk today with 3 great professionals that we're going to know and to delve into this project about rare diseases. And just before starting, I just would like to invite you all to join us in November in Barcelona. So we already working on the next Pediatric Innovation Day, will be held here the 20th. So registration is open. So we will be really happy to welcome you here if you want to come, or just online in person, or you also can register online. So for my side, that's all. So I will just invite Dr. Sandra Brasil just to start with these training capsules, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for the presentation and for the invitation to be here. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes. So let me share. I will just stop. Floor is yours. Thank you.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes, Sandra, I can see.
Okay, so
yes.
Okay, so today I'm here, as you said, I'm a communication and scientific manager with EPTRI, which stands for European Pediatric Translational Research Infrastructure, which is one of the partners of the ORPHADEV4KIDS project that I'm going to present today. And before I go over to the project and the partners and what we are doing, just to give a little bit of a framing of why we proposed the project and why it's so important, as well as the other two projects that will be presented today. So there's several barriers to the development of medical devices, particularly when we talk about pediatric population, and also not also the pediatric population, but the orphan and rare disease population. So we have clinical considerations. So we have the physiology of children and patients can change over time. We have different performance issues during the several daily activities, and depending on the disorder and the age of the person using the medical device, you can have different degrees of cognitive capacities. You also have technical considerations, because when you are talking about pediatric patients, you have to consider smaller size and also the growth that is going to happen over time. Besides, you also have regulatory and ethical considerations, because we have small populations, speaking of pediatric disorders and specifically orphan disorders, in which we have very few patients. And we also have the limited regulatory expertise in this area. And most of all, I think that it's one of the biggest hurdles are the financial considerations. So it's a small market, high costs. There's not enough financial incentives to develop medical devices for orphan disorders and for the pediatric population. And you can have a very good idea and do the basic experiments, but once you go to market, you need money. So you need financial background and capacity to develop medical devices. So we have a lot of barriers to overcome when we are talking of development for medical devices for these types of populations. Between 2018 and 2019, EPTRI did a survey in Europe with several researchers. And despite the survey was not particularly targeting development of medical devices. It was targeting the development of therapeutic options for children in general. But a lot of responders focused on medical devices. So we were able to collect a set of unmet needs within the development of medical devices, and specifically for the developers. So there's not a great knowledge of medical device in children. There's a need to foster pediatric research, and there's a need to develop tailored medical devices for children based on their needs. And also for the users, so we need to integrate the development of medical devices within the clinical settings. And there was also a lack of communication with other pediatric initiatives, and there was lack of ethics advice and regulatory support. There was the need to develop patient public involvement, including young patient advisory groups. So I'm not going to go over all of the list, so you can see that we have a lot of unmet needs, and it was based on the the lack of medical devices for children and also orphan disorders that the project, the ORPHADEV4KIDS, arose. So what we want to do is to implement an innovation ecosystem in which we are able to support developers that want to do medical devices for orphan disorders and also pediatric disorders. And how are we going to do this? So we want to support academia, scientific societies, and developers in small, medium enterprises and nonprofit organizations from the beginning of the concept, from the idea until they reach the market. And we are going to do that by developing several tools that I'm going to present. And this model is actually based on how EPTRI works. So EPTRI, as a translational research infrastructure, has several services that we offer that are divided within different thematic research platforms, and one of them is for the development of pediatric medical devices. So we basically built upon this notion and this infrastructure and platform that we were already trying to implement.
I think that maybe we have lost the connection with Dr. Brasil.
Platform.
Sorry,
sorry. Yeah.
Yes, Sandra, I think that maybe I can ask you to go a little bit before, because we have already lost the connection. I don't know if it just was past me or the rest of the participants, but I will. Yes, that was the last. This is last slide. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
So can you just tell me more or less where you the last thing that you heard, so I can pick up?
You were talking about how EPTRI works and introducing like that's going to the tools that you're going to explain later, but talking about EPTRI. I think that was the point.
Okay, so sorry for this. So maybe it's from. I apologize for the connection. So as I was saying, so EPTRI, as a research infrastructure, we offer several services divided to the different thematic research platforms, and one of them is dedicated to pediatric medical devices. So we have different experts in different countries that offer several services that can boost the development of pediatric medical devices, and one of the things that we build upon was the functioning of this platform, and is one of the things that we are offering also within the ORPHADEV4KIDS. So one of the aims of this project is to provide access to these tools and facilities and also supportive services within different areas that to people that want to develop pediatric medical device projects. And we are doing this by building this platform that will provide users in the need of dedicated research and development services with advice and mentoring and assistance to be able to manage the development of the prototypes and also the final product. So that is going to target the pediatric and orphan population. So we can provide services of designing the pediatric medical device development plan, clinical and non-clinical studies, so performance evaluation, and we can aid the users in developing their idea, and also give advice in the regulatory area, so marketing and commercialization, certification and marketing authorization, ethics, and GDPR assistance, so we are compliant with European Union rules. So this is one of the main goals of the project. And we have built, so this platform is being built within the work package 2, which will provide service access and tools for this medical device platform. So what we are building, so we have a regulatory database, which is already ready. It will be up running on the project websites. And as I mentioned in the beginning, one of the biggest problems is access to funding. So we also have a funding and opportunity database. At this moment, European public funding is ready. We are still working on national public funding, and private funding is also on working at the moment. And we are launching now a call for applications to receive the support from our medical device platform. So if you are a researcher, a startup, an industrial player, or other type of organization, patient-led developer that are in need of these types of services to support the development of a pediatric medical device or a medical device for an orphan indication, we are happy that you contact us. So I have here a link to the service form that you can fill in with the needs that you have, and we will assess the proposal. So the call will be open soon. And we are happy to provide and these services and to collect the needs of the developers. The second objective is the development of 3 medical devices within the ORPHADEV4KIDS that are specific for orphan disorders. 2 dedicated to neonatal in the neonatal cardiology area, and 1 dealing with osteogenesis imperfecta. In the case of the cardiology area, we have picked projects referring to cyanotic congenital cardiac diseases. At this moment, one of the goals was to assess the needs that clinicians and researchers and caregivers have in order for us to be able to develop a wearable multiplex biosensor for this orphan disorder. So the questionnaire is up and running. So it's targeting these 3 stakeholders. You can choose, once you access the survey, you can choose which type of stakeholder you are. And what we want to do is to collect the feedback so we can base the development of the wearable multiplex biosensor on the needs of the most important stakeholders, which are the clinicians, the researchers, and most of all the caregivers that are going to be using this device. We have also designed a survey for patients to collect the specific needs for development of patients. It's also up and running, and you can also access using this link. So if you are a patient or you know a patient with cyanotic congenital heart disorder, spread the word. So basically, the project has 2 approaches. So within the project, we are developing medical devices for 3 orphan indications, and we have the work package 2, which is dedicated to the development of this platform that will help other developers bring their medical devices forward. And the impacts of this project are, by building this platform, we can reduce fragmentation of the expertise that we have, because we have access to different experts and we are able to provide different expertise within different areas within the development of medical device. We want to reduce the risk of failure of the development of medical device by bringing this expertise together and making it easier to have this medical device being developed. And also, most of all, the improvement of the health of the pediatric population and the population living with orphan and rare disorders. And mostly also to promote the economy and improve the use of resources across Europe by reducing the duplication of services. So if we are able to combine all of the services needed to develop a medical device within one project, people don't need to contact different stakeholders to develop their device. And for me, this is it. I think I'm within my time. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Pues perfect in time. So thank you very much for your presentation. And we will love to welcome Anneliene, please, if you just can start sharing your presentation, and we can just start with it. Thank you.
Perfect. Can you see my screen? Perfect. Then I'm happy to introduce you to the second project funded under this called the DeCODe project. DeCODe stands for Develop Child and Orphan Device Evaluation Support. Impossible acronym. I will go to the background probably a bit quicker, given that some of it has been already covered by Sandra. But overall, we see that rare disease patients have truly an unmet need for pediatric and orphan medical devices, and that we need to foster and guide the development of these devices. We are also in a situation that we have last year had the introduction of the MDGC guidance for the development of orphan devices, and that's the environment we're in. And I think all of us have been inspired by the FDA-funded Pediatric Devices Research Consortia that have a similar structure to fund and support the development of orphan devices. When we look at the needs and the needs for orphan devices or rare disease devices, we see that the majority of the clinicians actually indicate the need for a new device, but that many of the existing devices have limitations, either because of their size or because of their uses or whatever else. And that given the fact that most of the rare diseases are in the pediatric space, and most of the pediatric need for pediatric devices are for rare diseases, it brings with it its unique challenges. So overall, we can summarize the barriers in 5 big buckets. We have on the one hand clinical hurdles. How do we do the clinical trials? How do we develop something for this population? The technical hurdles. How can we make something that is fitting and interacts with other healthcare systems? The financial hurdles. It is a niche market we're working with. The regulatory hurdles. We have no dedicated incentives in Europe. We have a guidance. We have no dedicated incentives in Europe for the development of orphan devices. And we have ethical hurdles, given the fact that we are working in a majority very young population. Something else that we've done at the start of this project is to map actually among the different development levels, the players and the stakeholders that are involved in this. So on the one hand, we have the societal partners, patient organizations, patients, carers. On the other hand, we have research partners, so technical universities, research consortia, the ERNs. And we have the industry partners supporting companies, mostly SMEs, sometimes larger companies and investors. And we have regulatory and funding bodies that are there. And immediately, if you have this picture, you see that not all of them are actually overlapping. So coordination and communication between the different stakeholders at different stages is essential. As such, we started the DeCODe project, and we started this with 4 strategic objectives. The first one being to map and analyze the pediatric and orphan medical device ecosystem, and then to set out a critical path for the development of pediatric and orphan medical devices, to provide innovation coaching for the development of specific pediatric and orphan medical devices via the DeCODe platform, and to form novel partnerships in this space. That actually brings us to quite clear forward structure with dedicated work package for each one of these. And as such, we've since started last September. And I think one of the first things we've done is to map the current tools that are out there, because we were wondering quite extensively are there tools and incentives and possibilities out there that can help the development of orphan and medical devices. And we actually set out a big survey. It was an internet survey. We got over 250 responses, so really a lot of responses to people that actually helped us find all the current tools. What we when we took the survey results, we narrowed it down to actually the individual survey responses. We had 213 responses, and then we did the same exercise actually in or within the DeCODe consortium. And some of them were, of course, overlapping and double, so we deleted 34 of those responses. Then we actually screened all the records and looked if there's actually a tool included. So is there's actually a tool or a support or something that you could actually use included. And then we still found another duplicate, so we had 140 number of tools. So that led us to 81 unique tools that are really essential for the development of orphan and medical devices. And then we actually started to analyze them. So first of all, we did an analysis of where in the pathway of development is it useful? Is it useful for preclinical development, clinical development, business development, technological development, or regulatory development? And we see actually quite a nice spread. If anything, there are, of course, as we expected, less tools for business development in this space. We've also done a mapping on the life cycle. So is it prototype? Is it the concept? Is it preclinical prototyping, clinical reimbursement, manufacturing, commercial use, marketing? And there also we see quite a large spread. Having said so, there are lacking tools specific for the reimbursement of orphan devices. We did two more mappings or two more separations. One is what type of medical devices does the initiative support? And we see that clearly, unsurprisingly, given the fact that we had a survey in orphan and pediatric devices, most of the incentives that were submitted were actually for those devices. So overall, if we summarize what's actually in it in detail, we see some for data sets, we see some for fundings, we see development resources, practices, regulatory tools, modeling tools, very importantly, infrastructures, number of initiatives, expert support groups, and pediatric focus groups. So that was really nice, and that gave us a really long list of tools that are out there that could help. But then the question is, how will we actually use them? So for that, we did a critical path analysis, and the first step I've just shown you, that was the collection of experts and tools. So we collected this by literature and surveys. And then we actually also found a number of hypothetical case studies and then said, okay, how would you use this in incentives and tools throughout the hypothetical case studies? So we did a workshop in which we tried to see when will you use them, how will you use them, and also to develop a number of what to do and when to do throughout this. So the framework in which we try to map all the incentives was the GATES framework. It's the Guidance and Impact Tracking Systems framework. And it's a framework that goes through the different development phases, but also has a separation into a clinical part, a marketing and business part, regulatory part, and a technological part. And truly, we've mapped every of the different incentives on this. And this is how it looks like. So we have the 82 that we started up with. We ended up probably mapping about 50 of the incentives and tools. Some of them are only useful in very specific cases. Some of the tools and incentives that are out there will not be suitable for a class 1 device, but only for class 2 or class 3. And the same is true. Some of them are only useful for custom-made devices. But we see we have quite a nice spread in between tools for technologically that we actually used, regulatory, marketing, and clinical. And the information of all of this is in the next months going to be on the DeCODe website so that everyone can actually search their specific incentives, because even we were quite surprised with the amount of incentives and tools that are out there that could help in the development of orphan devices. We've also since had a call open for pilot cases. So we had a call out there for orphan device developers. That's to say, would you be interested in receiving support from DeCODe consortium? We've selected 5 cases. 2 of them are SMEs, 3 of them are in the academic space. They are covering both the rare and pediatric space. All of them are quite unmet need conditions, with the potential that we can actually hopefully help them. And the device developer gets minimum of 6 months. And we are starting this month to setting up the first appointments. What they will get support on is throughout the development of their structure. So they needed to be at a minimum of GRL level 3. So they needed to have at least a concept. So what they will get is either business support, and I think actually all of the applicants requested this. So either on funding, on IP, or on needs assessment or value proposition. They can receive support on technological development, so either proof of concept, the clinical trial setup, the infrastructure, the connectivity, and the in silico modeling, but also on the regulatory aspect, so preparation for regulatory development and quality assessment there. That's been the research, the project so far. So our consortium is a really nice consortium with 9 different partners. Some of the partners come from clinical and patient involvement, such as the 2 ERNs that are collaborating in this, Eurogen, Metabaron, and Connect for Children. We have a number of academic and research centers, KU Leuven, NMU Munich, and my own university, University of Twente. For innovation in industry, we have EPTRI and in silico trials technologies. And then we have on regulatory, we have Trinity College Dublin. And we also are joined by a scientific advisory board with a member of the pediatrics research consortia from the United States, a member from EURDIS, the patient organization for rare diseases patients, and one of the regulatory members from HRBA from Ireland. And with that, to summarize, I think overall our aim has been to support the development of pediatric and orphan devices. And the consortium is co-funded by the European Commission and consists of academics, developers, clinicians, regulatory experts, funding experts, and in silico testing expert. And so far, the status has been that we've started to develop a critical path analysis with also a number of recommendations that I haven't shown today because of the time, and started to provide support to the 5 orphan device developers. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention and passing it back to you, Patricia.
Thank you very much, Anneliene. Just remind you that you can ask using the chat if you had any questions for our speakers. So just to remind that, and so Sofía, that's your turn. So please just talk about the i4KIDS 4RARE project. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia, and thank you, Anneliene and Sandra, for the nice presentations. It's nice to see that we are all aligned, when we envision the challenges and also the programs, as well. I was seeing, Anneliene, that you also use the GATES platform, and that's how our mindset is structured. I think it becomes even like a norm, to work in. My brain always works in these 4 verticals from market, regulatory, technology, and clinical. So it's a very nice approach. I'm going to share my screen and go through the presentation. Please let me know if you can see it in a whole screen format and okay.
It's not full screen. Now it is.
No?
Well,
okay.
It's in a presentation view.
I don't know why I'm having this problem all the time. Yeah, let me see. Now it is, right? Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to be presenting the i4KIDS 4RARE, which is a program, an acceleration program dedicated to the rare diseases from i4KIDS, which is the hub that we are coordinating from San Juan de Déu Children's Hospital since 2021. So a little bit of information and context about our hospital. We are a children and maternity center, and we are also a university hospital. We are a private and non-for-profit entity. However, we have a long-term agreement with the public system. And we are part of the St. John of God Hospitalier Order, which has worldwide presence, as you can see here. No, we are present in 5 continents, 53 countries, 400 centers, etc. And here's some information, main information about our hospital, about the activity of our hospital. No, if you compare these numbers maybe to a generic hospital, they might seem small. However, for being a specific children and maternity hospital, the activity it's quite high. No? So we have almost 3,000 professionals. We have 340 beds, and well, we have a high activity in research. And related also to what Sandra and Anneliene were explaining, no, and also the complexity of orphan diseases, no, and I wanted to share some of the numbers and to show you, though, that only, for example, only 25% of life-saving medical devices were approved by the FDA with a pediatric indication, no, and that it's even much more complex when we move into the space of the rare diseases, no, and see that more than 50% of the drugs in pediatrics with rare diseases are prescribed off-label, which means that there are no studies demonstrating safety and efficacy, and this is much higher in newborns, and that the mean of years to have a diagnosis for families is around 5 years. And this is our mantra, no? So despite children represent a quarter of our present, they are the 100% of our future. However, industry spends more money to develop health technologies that address the last month of life than technologies that transform a lifetime. No? And this was a very important sentence from Janine Fjord, the director, one of the directors of the Impact One program that we collaborate since a couple of years ago. No? And that was what was very interesting and impactful to see, no? So our mission in i4KIDS it's to promote the development of innovative solutions for children, no? And as also Sandra mentioned before, no, there are a lot of barriers. For example, a perceived higher risk in the innovation process, a smaller size of the market, complexities in regulatory and clinical and ethical. Also, there is a fragmentation of dispersion of the pediatric research and developing knowledge. And also there is a lack of investment in pediatrics. As you know, private investment it's normally one of the most important funds in order to develop technologies that need to arrive at some point to the market, no? And however, these are the barriers, no? There are a lot of opportunities in the pediatric field, and they have a lot of potential for exploitation and impact, and this is what we want to support with i4KIDS, no? And our mission is to foster and promote innovation in these fields for a better and safer health and well-being. And now let's focus into the i4KIDS 4RARE, no? I'm gonna go very briefly through the general information of the project, but this is our title, no? It's an acceleration program dedicated to the development of orphan medical devices. And our main objective is to develop and execute a specialized acceleration program with experts in the field to advance innovative solutions in 3 use cases, no? And you will see the 3 use cases now. And I'm gonna be able to share some of the advancements that we have been able to do in this first year of the project, no? Our program, our accelerator program, it's focused in 2 different sub-programs, let's say. One is the challenge based for rare program, where we start identifying a challenge from patients and from clinicians, and we collaborate with the industry to find solutions that are covering the challenge. And the other one, it's the validation and valorization program, and where what we do is to make sure that we add value to some of the projects that are in a very early stage in order to reduce the risk and increase their potential to arrive to the patients, no? And in this here, we can share with you the 3 use cases that we are working on. In the challenge based for rare program, we are working in a pediatric rare disease neuroepilepsy need that we will share now what we have been doing. And in the validation and valorization program, we are working in cardiology, in congenital heart disease, and also in rehabilitation in spinal muscle atrophy patients. The first case is the i4KIDS platform, which is the solution that we're working now. It's an advanced real-time cerebral electronic risk score for children with congenital heart disease. And what we are doing is to develop a medical device that will improve patient monitoring during complex surgery in patients with congenital heart disease. And specifically in the acceleration program, the three objectives that we have in this use case for congenital heart disease were, on one hand, to identify market access strategies that will facilitate the final adoption of our solution to the healthcare system, and also to identify at least one potential strategy to protect the assets developed by the platform. And these are some of the activities that we have in the project, to develop the clinical investigation plan, to develop the regulatory roadmap, also patentability assessment, and the early market access study. If we move to the rehabilitation use case for the spinal muscle atrophy patients, what we are doing is to develop a video game that will improve the adherence of at-home rehabilitation of these patients, and also to facilitate the monitor of their progress in the hospital. And the specific objectives for this use case are to develop the proof of concept of the video game and to increase the technology readiness level. And I will also share with you a very nice video with the current prototype that we have developed. And the last case that we have is the pediatric neuroepilepsy challenge. And here, what we have been doing is working with the EPTRI, which is a European research network coordinated from our hospital, that they are experts in pediatric neuroepilepsy, to identify from patients and from healthcare professionals which are the main challenges that they would like to address with a technology-based solution. And I will also share with you the three main challenges that we have identified and where we will start looking for potential solutions to solve those challenges. So where we are today in these three use cases in the i4KIDS platform, it has been challenging because the product was originally more focused for research, and we are currently transitioning into a market-ready product, with a research focus. Also, we are working on the use case refinement, because what we have seen is that the technology that we are developing has potential for many different indications and areas of impact, from hospitalizations, at-home monitorization, during surgery. So we are working in these different indications, let's say, to see which are the ones that will facilitate the entry to market and the validation of the product. As I mentioned before, we are also working in the intellectual property strategy development, because we want to make sure that our project has a strong asset that will facilitate the arrival to market, probably through licensing the technology to a bigger company. Also, with the market access strategy, we are defining the patient journey, and also working with the clinicians to understand the clinical and the economic impact of our solution in order to have a very early cost effectivity analysis. And last, we were supposed to start now with the regulatory progress. However, since we have some delays in the population indication, we have postponed this, but we will start very soon. And this is a fantastic quest, and I will try to show you I have a very long video here, but I will show you some snaps of the video. And this is a video game that we have developed for SME patients that are with gross motor function 4 and 5, which means that they have mobility in their upper extremities, and the video game has been defined implementing exercise of movements that the occupational therapists and the physicians perform with these patients to make sure that they keep on having movements, and that it's something that they need to do daily in their daily lives. So here I'm going to show you. Let me see if you can see it. Some parts of the video game now. This is a proof of concept. We don't have many screens yet, but it's a virtual reality video game. I don't know if you can hear the sound.
No, I just
Okay.
can see the image, but not the sound.
Well, that's fine. It's just music. I'm gonna go a little bit further. So the patients, what they do, they interact using their hands with different movements, and they need to, for example, to make sure that the user is moving from one place to another. And what we are trying to do is to reproduce the different movements that they currently do with the rehabilitation sessions. Yeah. And what we're going to do now is to validate the video game, the proposal, some of the screens that we have, some of the videos with 2-3 patients to assess a little bit of main safety issues that we might identify in order to iterate with this first proof of concept. And lastly, I wanted to share with you the use case in pediatric neuroepilepsy. I love working from the very beginning of the project. So means that I love identifying unmet clinical needs and working with the physicians to understand which are the problems that they have and trying to have a very open mind and creativity to look for solutions that address those markets. These are the 3 main challenges that we have currently identified. One is the lack of reliable focus localization in pediatric patients with pharmacoresistant epilepsy. And this is important to plan the brain surgery. The second challenge that we have identified is to detect and address emerging cognitive impairments in children with epilepsy early in order to be able to prevent problems in the future. And the last one is to address the variability in drug response in pediatric patients with rare disease genetic epilepsies. What we are doing now is to work with the clinicians, with the EPICARE, in fact, network, to see which of these 3 challenges it's more relevant to start working with. And then what we're going to do is to connect with the industry that has a specific interest in neuroepilepsy to see if together we can launch a call for solutions and to fund a small proof of concept in order to be tested with our patients. And I think just, excuse me. And yeah, well, that's it. That was everything I prepared for today. I don't know if someone has any doubt, just to me.
Sofía, we have one question regarding the video. So Anneliene has already asked about if for this tool have you collaborate with Imaginary?
It was just some suggestions before I forget. One is for the VR tool. I think Imaginary has done some great space in this work, and I've also had quite some challenges in getting these tools to the market. So maybe it's worthwhile to exchange on that. And the same is for your
neuroepilepsy, no?
Neuroepilepsy. There is a company in this field, a rare disease company that is called EpiHunter, and I think it might be worthwhile too.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that would be great, Anneliene. Yeah, maybe we can talk about both projects. And
Sofía, sorry, you're muted.
Yeah, I think you're muted.
Sorry. I'm kind of worried with the background noise and I keep on turning on and off the mic. So no, I was saying that the video game, we have developed it with a company from Spain, where we have done another project for eye tracking. And I don't know, but I would love to see, Anneliene, no? You mentioned what was the name? I'm looking at the chat. The Imaginary, no? And what their capabilities, their experience in the field. So that would be very, very interesting. Perfect. And so I can see, yeah.
Already one question in the chat. I think you can already just read it.
Yeah, Monica, thank you for the question. And it's nice to meet you here today. We are working on market access strategies to see how this can be implemented in the hospital, because we still need to figure who will pay for the solution, how much will it be paid, etc. No? So we are in an early stage where we want to validate that VR has the capabilities, no, to perform at-home rehabilitations for these types of patients. But your questions are very, very relevant, and this is why in this very early stage of the project we are starting to work to see what's the best strategy to make it arrival to the patients, and to see what's the business model around the project, who will pay for this, what's the relationship with the pharma companies, no? Because one of the options was to collaborate with big corporates that have solutions currently in the market for SME. However, those solutions normally need to be given in the very early stages of life, no? Because the efficacy doesn't have the same impact depending on the age of the patients. But yeah, we're still working on that.
So does anybody else has any question? You can use the chat, or maybe just use the microphone as well.
Sorry, I just want to thank you, Sofía, for your answer. I'm not able to turn on my camera, but I just want to say that we have the same case with Kids Foundation. So if you have any insight, we can, meet and discuss this, because we already created the solution for oncology with VR. But yeah, right now we are thinking how to, find the space for find fundings to maintain it in hospital. Yeah, so yeah, if you can, find the time, we can meet and discuss this. Thanks.
Yeah, sure, that will be very interesting. And I was thinking now, I mean, Anneliene's project, now, Anneliene, now you already have the 5 projects now that you are supporting in the program. But I think that Sandra, she shared the QR, no, yes, that there are the possibilities, no, if we are working in projects in this area, to get some support, additional support, no.
So that I still had 5 cases that I had to turn down. So if there is more information, then I can always forward them. It's just that, yeah, we could only handle so much.
Yeah, I understand it totally.
And we are now within the ORPHADEV4KIDS, we are launching the call. So you have the information on the slides, and I can put the link on the chat if you wish to. So it's a forum in which you say the need, so you request for the support that you want, and then we are now mapping the needs of the different stakeholders developing medical devices. And within the form you have different types of support that we can provide, and you can see if the support that we are providing is something that you are looking for. And we are happy to collect the information, and then we can, based on a project, and we can elaborate a plan to support the different projects that we will receive in different areas. So one of the supports that we are offering is funding and funding opportunities. So maybe it's a good match. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you, Monica.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so we are nearly on our time. So I don't know if it's the last question to any of our speakers, or maybe Sandra, Anneliene, and Sofía, would you like to add something just before saying goodbye and just closing this webinar?
Just one thing. I think that all of the projects are working for children, and for orphan disorders that mainly affect children, but not also. But one of the things that I think all of the projects build on is the inclusion very early on of patients and their opinions and their needs. So these are projects that are based on the needs of the patients, and we have all of the projects in different stages, and within the partners we have or patients groups or patient advisory groups. So within the ORPHADEV4KIDS we have TEDI network, which is have different IPECs in different countries. So the surveys, for example, the surveys for patients are being developed with their input. So they are actively collaborating, and the patients are active partners within this project. And I think that this is one of the way in which we can change the landscape. So by including them early on and building the devices based on their needs. Just my final comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. So Anneliene and Sofía, would you like to say anything else? I think it's fine. Yes. So thank you very much for Sandra, Anneliene, and Sofía just for being here today with us, and of course to everybody who has already joined us. And we will share this webinar in our YouTube channel as well. So it has been so interesting just to know about these 3 European funded projects, and so hope to meet you all again. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.